What does Industry 5.0 look like?
Oh gosh, and we're not even close to really
Yeah.
fulfilling Industry 4.0. It's hard to even think about five. I don't even know if everybody's still on Industry 3.
Right.
Some of these things. So like we
I've spent the last 20 years in technology for manufacturers, but it wasn't until I started this podcast that I realized just how much I didn't know. Now I share these with you because chances are, if I'm learning this for the first time, so are you. How old was Inductive when you first started there?
it's hard to like fathom where I am in my life, considering when I started here I was 19. So it's like, well, I was always the young one. Now we're hiring like early 20s, and it's like I'm not the young one anymore.
Yeah,
The founder had been running the integration business for over 25 years. And so when I started with them, it was the inception of the software company. So it was brand new. So 2003 is when we started. And so I've been lucky to be here the entire time of the software side.
that's Ignition, right?
That's right. Yeah. I
Awesome.
started out working with the integration. We built software for ourselves, and I was doing the projects for the integrator. Then when we transitioned to being a software company, that's where we focus 100% of our time on that.
So you've seen it all then, I gotta imagine. Over the past 20 years, we've come quite a ways in automation.
Absolutely. It's been quite a ride. And when I came in, it was interesting because when I came in, it felt like it was behind times, right? Because
Yeah.
I come from the IT side, and there were a lot of technologies like SQL databases and HTML and all these things that just were so foreign within this arena. It's great to see where things are progressing now. The pandemic and Industry 4.0 kind of initiatives are really a catalyst for things moving forward.
So if we think about automation now, certainly they have some schools that have curriculums for that, like STEM schools. Are you seeing a lot more people that have had that STEM background, or is it a mix?
Yeah, no, we definitely see it, especially now with community colleges and even getting into like the big 4-year universities where they're putting the programs in place for more hands-on experience. Like for example, mechatronics, or they have these like maker spaces, these lab where people can kind of go in and play with things like Arduino and robotics and CNC and all that stuff and kind of figure out how to put it all together. So you're getting a lot more people who are excited about, the opportunities that exist. We're in about 270 educational institutions around the world. We're doing a lot of educational, awareness. We have a team who goes and provides free licensing to universities or to
Oh,
colleges and programs. And we help actually develop curriculum around not just Ignition, but like just SCADA in general, like how from PLC design to how you build SCADA to how you can deploy that, the challenges, all the kind of pieces that are there. And part of that in the labs are like using Ignition. So we're trying to help propel that from our side, as well as get our partners, like hardware companies, as well as integrators get involved to kind of do mentoring and to provide what's out there, right?
yeah.
Rather than like using really old stuff, get the stuff that's really in market now and start learning how to do that so that they have that experience when they get out of school, they're off the ground and running.
I was not aware of that in the internet stalking I did of Ignition and you. Background on some of that. I've been doing the podcast since the beginning of the year, and I've been posting short videos highlighting different manufacturers and the stuff that they've done. And then, some do well, some do okay. My son is in a STEM school, and I posted a 30-second clip of a CAD he made in Tinkercad, a model, and it blew up, 12,000 views overnight. And I was like, okay, I think I've struck a chord here with this education around STEM. And certainly your background kind of says it, right? You've probably trained thousands of people over the past 20 years, and you basically were teaching STEM on the job, right? As you're training some of these people.
Yeah, I absolutely, and I have personally, like with local universities and colleges, I've gone out and I've done lectures and kind of helped build some labs and get things moving. I've tried to mentor some people locally, but like we're trying to do that at a broader scale, right?
Yeah.
There's only so much that I can do, and I've always education for me is it's been a huge passion of my career, right? Not only, of course, training people on how to use Ignition, but also just education in terms of where the industry is moving, what are the trends, what are the technologies that people should be looking at, what are the culture changes that need to happen out there. So I think that's really important to kind of be like that thought leader to kind of help make the change, right? That needs to happen in industry so that we can move forward because before we started, things were very stagnant, legacy, proprietary, old, right? And we came in and we were the young company who said, we're going to change this. We're going to change how people think of software. We're going to change how it works and leverage modern technologies and all of that. And we sort of started this course, right, of introducing, what the art of the possible is. And now we kind of take it for granted. Like we look at Industry 4.0, it's like it's expected, kind of have to leverage the best that's out there, especially now with AI and leveraging cloud and all of that. But you really couldn't get there if we didn't start having that change from the OT world to from what it was to now where it can be. So it's been pretty exciting to be a part of that because honestly, I feel like that's for me the most rewarding part of my career is to just be a part of that movement, right?
Yeah,
And seeing now where companies can go and what's possible with what they can do because of technology, that's what gets you to tick, you know?
I think that's an important way of closing the skills gap is just through that kind of education. So I think that's really important. For listeners that don't understand what SCADA is and um, HMI, can you explain it in rudimentary terms so people can kind of get an idea of what it is?
Yeah, absolutely. So an HMI is kind of the kind of most rudimentary form. It's a human machine interface. And the idea is that right next to your piece of equipment, you have a panel, an HMI where you can go and see what's happening with the equipment, be able to, control it, change some set points, turn things on and off so the operator can run that machine effectively, right? It's right there, it's next to the machine. Even if their network goes down or the building's burning down, they should be able to run that piece of equipment right there. That's what the HMI is all about. And it connects up to the controller that's on that piece of equipment. That's a PLC. PLC standing for a programmable logic controller. And that's what really automates the machine itself, right? It knows how it runs. Has all the sensors and all the information that's bringing in to decide, like for example, if it's running and some sensor gets tripped, it might shut it down, right? Or slow it down or whatever for safety or for whatever, needs that are there. So the PLC is critical in and the HMI is communicating with it so that the operator can see the status and can make change. You then take that at a higher level. If you've got lots of pieces of equipment out there, you want to be able to centralize all that. You want to see data from your entire shop floor, right, or factory floor in one view. And that's what SCADA is. SCADA stands for Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. It's the idea of kind of bringing all these disparate systems together, being able to see it all in a single pane of glass, and to be able to get insights into data, historize data together, provide alarms for what's happening, and ultimately, get that visualization out to the people that need that. And data acquisition is a huge part of a SCADA system. So that's sort of how the kind of the, if you will, layered approach. In the OT world, there's a kind of what's called a Purdue model, and there's different layers of that model, kind of like from the sensors to the control plane to the HMI, of course, into the SCADA system. Then it goes into like business sides, right? Where you get into like MES systems, where you get into like the business, the corporate side, and there's kind of these layered approaches. That's how a lot of companies do their segmented networks. But ultimately, HMI SCADA is all around the shop floor, right? The equipment that we're monitoring and making sure are running most effectively.
And ignition is SCADA.
So Ignition is a platform to develop any kind of application. HMI SCADA is a big piece. MES applications or manufacturing execution systems are another. But honestly, you could build any kind of industrial application that you want with Ignition. We're not limited by that because we support all these open standards. We support lots of ways of getting data in and getting data out. And so it is really kind of a development platform on steroids, really.
What's the craziest thing you've seen created or the craziest thing you've seen Ignition do?
I think the craziest one, I think or the most fun that I've ever seen, it was really surprising to me in terms of the use case was, if you look at movies like Jurassic Park, right, or Jurassic World, you see those, or you go to like Universal and there's the dinosaurs that are there, the animatronics dinosaurs, those creatures that they have in movies or in theme parks. Those have control systems on them, right, for all the movements and how that works. And there's a company out of Australia called Creature Technologies, and they used the software to basically build a way of programming those animatronics, all the movements that have in those animatronics. And so they use Ignition to basically build that logic in a very drag and drop, simple kind of flow diagram that then gets loaded down to the PLC on the creature, and then it runs independently and does all the movements that you expect, right? It
Wow.
was a really cool project that to me was just kind of mind blowing that it happened and that
Yeah.
the software is being a part of that. So it's pretty cool to see.
Is it absolutely on Jurassic Park? Are you allowed to say that?
Yeah, you go take a look at the Discover Gallery video that we have. There's actually a video. It shows the actual dinosaurs, and Blue from Jurassic World is part of that
Wow.
video. So you'd
That's
see
so cool.
the person who's programming it right next to the creature itself. It's pretty cool.
So then, I mean, that has millions of applications. And yeah, that's pretty mind-blowing. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, it really shows that like there's a lot of need for automation, right,
Yeah.
out there. For automation, like especially PLC programming and SCADA and all of that, there's a lot of knowledge you have to have, right, to kind of build these things.
I've reached out to, I mean, thousands of manufacturers about the podcast, and I usually try to stick to trending topics, Industry 4.0 being one of them. And I still run across a lot of manufacturers that are still doing old style manufacturing. They're not doing any automation. What is one thing that you think holds a lot of these fabricators and manufacturers back?
I think really honestly, it's culture problems. I think that's the biggest thing. The OT leadership still kind of they don't take a lot of risks. They still kind of like do things that they know works, right? And leveraging new technology can look like a risk if not done well, but because they think they're kind of on their own, right, with a lot of that. Honestly, at the end of the day, if you can get both sides really working together and collaborating with leadership kind of setting the tone that hey we have some business objectives we got to solve and we really want to modernize and transform. Here's the things we're trying to accomplish. Let's get everybody working on that same level and saying that hey let's invest in this, let's move forward, let's try new technologies and see where it can go. And honestly, you're going to have some failures, but you're going to get a lot of successes too if you kind of take it piece by piece, right? We've seen that with a lot of factories, for example, who still have clipboards and whiteboards and all of that. Well, getting to a new system is a change for everybody, right? Change is hard for people.
Yeah.
But when they get it and they realize the benefits that it gets them, they get that win that moves on and it propels more change, right? So I think if we can get past the kind of the culture and having real leadership kind of drive these things and say, look, that we're all a part of this. Let's move forward. Let's make this happen. I think then you're going to see a lot more acceleration.
And I think that education piece, again, to reiterate, is super important. I think it's pretty amazing that you guys have kind of built your own internal education system because you realize basically that there's a gap, right? They're not getting what they need. So you guys filled the gap yourselves with your own curriculum. You're clearly very passionate about this subject, right? And I noticed you went from sales, you were in sales, and now you have a technology evangelist title.
Yeah.
What does the day of a technology evangelist look like?
I've always kind of sat very customer faced, very close to how these solutions get put out there. As the chief technology evangelist, I want to be able to kind of blast it off the rooftops, right? We'll do a lot on LinkedIn, on social. Like I said, working with different publications, writing some thought leadership articles, and I'll talk to a lot of executives at companies to kind of show how we put the right foundation in on the OT level, how that can propel so much more, right? From, from leveraging the business side, AI and cloud side, all that stuff is possible if you have that right foundation in place. So I do quite a bit of that. I mean, that's really where I'm focused. Is just how can we share what this community, this ecosystem has to offer? The technology is amazing, right? But we have to get people to see and understand well, how to apply that, how to use it.
Yeah, and you're certainly a great spokesperson for it. And I've spoken with other people running similar SCADA software, but I don't think anyone has your kind of presence and passion around the entire system. So it's very cool.
We are really trying hard to invest that next generation. I think, like we're talking about university, that's a really important side because, not only do they need to learn just sort of what technologies are there, but the most important skill that this next generation can have is just being able to like troubleshoot, have critical thinking, and to figure out how to apply all of this to these ever-changing problem statements that are out there. The challenges we have today are so different than the challenges we had years ago, right? Supply chains getting more complicated. And so there's a lot that's going on, especially around AI technologies. There's a lot of opportunity that's out there. We're just grateful to be a part of that, honestly.
What does Industry 5.0 look like?
Oh gosh, and we're not even close to really
Yeah,
fulfilling Industry 4.0. It's hard to even think about
yeah,
five. It's funny because I'll go to some shows and that will be people will already have stuff on Industry 5.0 on slides. I'm like, holy moly, we're still like, I don't even know if everybody's still on Industry 3,
right.
in terms of some of these things. So like we got a long road to go. But what I do think is happening right now is I think there's a real acceleration. There's some catalysts right now that are really propelling Industry 4.0 together. And there's a lot of I think investment. Like there's even within the U.S. There's a group called SESME, Clean Energy Smart Manufacturing Institute. It's funded by DOE, and they're investing in how to modernize manufacturing, understand what digital infrastructure looks like, how to do data model and standardization, and really move forward. And there's a lot of that stuff happening right now, a lot of focus around it, and realizing that we can no longer be proprietary. We have to be vendor agnostic. We have to think about and using standards to put all this stuff together. And there's a lot of movement right now in building those standards. And that's what gets me excited.
I think I have 2 episodes worth of content in this one episode.
Well, thanks a lot. I really appreciate being a part of it, Justin. It's been awesome.
Travis, thanks again. I'll shoot you a follow up again. Let's stay in touch.
Sounds great, Justin. Thank you so much.
Yep.
We'll stay in touch.